My name is Rita Montgomery, and I have the pleasure of having a conversation with Dan Laramie. And he and I chatted about a week ago about some very interesting experiences that he has had with changing his mind and healing his body in a way that is rather unconventional. And I think these stories are worth sharing, and I want to give him the opportunity to point these stories out to you. So go ahead and take it away, Dan.
Okay, thanks, Rita. I guess the first one I'll talk about is allergies. I had really bad allergies, and when Steph and I first met, it was like she noticed this right away, and she was concerned, to say the least, that I was going to be walking around looking like this and sounding like this. And she asked me what it was all about. I just said, well, I have these allergies. I've had them for a long time, and I get them every year around about this time. And so we were walking down the street one day, and we're in the process of doing an NLP course, so we both understood that a little bit. And walking down the street, and there was some construction going on or something, and I was paying attention to this construction, and she started to ask me questions, and I answered them without really paying attention, because I wasn't really paying attention to her. I was trying to pay attention to this other thing, and she'd say things like, "So, how long have you had this?" And I don't know, a few years. And how long do you want to keep it? I said, "Well, I don't want to keep it, but she said, then when are you going to let it go?" And I was almost getting annoyed. It was almost like, "Well, I'm just trying to look at this," but I said, "I don't know now," and she said a few more things and then changed the subject. And so, we continued on home another 5 blocks or so. And when I got there, I realized that I wasn't feeling like I usually would when I was out with this problem. And I started to wonder, like, it can't be that simple. I know what she said, and after listening to it, I understood what she was trying to do, because, like I said, we were both taking the same training.
Right.
And I thought, well, even if I know what's going on, this seems to be working. So I was really surprised, and I thought I'd test it out a little bit, because one of my worst things was fresh cut grass, and anything that falls from a tree is deadly, right? So pollen or the little whatever, if it falls down, I'm allergic to it.
Right.
So we went out, and I went down the street, and there's a guy cutting the grass, so I went and stood there, and I'm just doing this, and I didn't, nothing happened, and I thought, this is really good. And then we lived on this street that was just all trees. Like, it was just a very beautiful street, big, huge trees. But in May, when they started dropping stuff, it was like a disaster zone for me. And I got to the point where I had to stay inside. I couldn't go outside.
Right.
So I thought, well, I'll go check this out, and we went out a couple times again later that day, and I didn't have any trouble. And then I noticed as the week went along that, normally this is the time period that I wouldn't be out of the house at all. I was fine. And now, maybe 5 or 6 years.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 years. And each year, at the beginning of the season, the first year I needed a little reminder. It was like, you don't do this anymore. And I thought,
right.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I don't. And that took care of it. The next year, I used to carry around some the tablets, the little...
like Benadryl or something like that?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Because before, I'd go through like 12 boxes of these in a season.
Wow.
And it just kept getting less and less. And finally, in the last couple of years, I haven't touched them at all, right? But it was really amazing to me that anything could work that fast. And I'm talking about a physical thing. I can understand a mental thing or something, you change your mind.
Yeah.
But this is a physical thing, and it was gone. And it's been a great thing. I really like that.
Yeah, it's very cool. A couple of things. I remember from our previous conversation, you mentioned that your allergies were so severe that they had been identified by the doctor as potentially life-threatening. I mean, they were that severe that, you could lose the ability to breathe, and your eyes would totally close up. And
it was bad.
Yeah.
And I first got it I was in the military and I was posted in Germany, and I was on the way to work one day, and I used to ride this little moped that you ride them over there, and I was riding through a field, and that's the first time I ever had anything. My eyes started to itch and water and stuff, and I thought, wow, that's different, you know.
Right.
And then from there, it just got progressively worse. And when I came back to Canada, I was working for my brother in an apple orchard, and I was out in the morning and I was setting water lines. That's just something to do while I was trying to find some work. Right?
Right.
And I was out there alone one morning, and I don't know what happened, but just the right combination, things started to swell up and puff up, and my eyes just were ridiculous. And I thought, I got to get to a hospital.
Right.
So I took off. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, though, and I didn't know where to go. So I went to the clinic. And I just happened to walk up to the door when somebody inside was, I don't know, they were coming to open the door or something. And
Right.
and she took one look at me and said, don't even stop here, straight to the hospital. Get
Right.
going, right?
Yeah.
So I went to the hospital, and they fixed me up.
Yeah.
But the doctor told me, he said, you have to quit that job. I said, quit the job? It's the only one I got. He said, what happened to you on the outside is also happening on the inside. And said, and if your throat closes up and you can't breathe and there's no one around to help you,
Yeah.
says you're not going to leave that field, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, yeah, that's a little too important. I better pay attention.
Yeah.
So I quit the job over it. I had all kinds of problems over it.
Yeah.
And it was just, to me, it was totally amazing that something that was that serious and that pronounced in the space of 5 minutes of talking.
I know. It's
disappeared.
and that's exactly the kind of story that I'm wanting people to start thinking about, is that we can, like a comment that you made earlier, which is, of course, you know, we all think about being able to change our mental habits, but being able to physically change a condition, something that's happening in our body, and to change it that quickly is something that most people don't even give any credibility to at all. So I'm really thrilled that you're sharing this story.
Well, I thought about it a lot after, and I tried to figure out, I understand, I took the course, I know the stuff, all that, but still, it was like, how did that work?
I know.
And the only answer I could come up with in the long run was faith. I had faith that it would work,
right,
and it did.
Right.
And I really think it really doesn't matter what you have faith in.
Sure.
If you actually have the faith to believe in something,
right,
and then you just let that go and let it work, I believe that you can do lots of stuff that way.
I think so too. And just to recontextualize it, I think that some people think of faith as in a religious context.
No, not necessarily.
And it can be just conviction. You know, it can be a certainty that this can happen. And I felt the same way with the experiences that I've had. Is there's just a conviction, of course, this will happen. Yeah.
And I saw it too many times. I saw other people. I saw one guy that was deathly allergic to kiwis.
Right.
And he learned about this, and that afternoon I watched him do it. He went out and bought a kiwi, came back, and in front of 30 people, he said, listen, if I fall over, get me to a hospital. But he ate that kiwi, nothing happened at all.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really something to see. So I've seen it too many times and noticed it too many times to have any doubt. I mean, it just works, right?
It does.
And, you know, one of the other things that happened to me, I had a toothache for a while, right? And my wife had one that had gone on and on and on. And I kept telling her, says, you know, go get it fixed. Well, I don't know. She doesn't like dentists or something. So she kept going. And it went on for years. And so when I got this toothache, I thought, okay, I can work on this. If she can do it, I can do it, right?
Right.
And I started to work on this tooth, like talking to it and talking to myself and just thinking, okay, I could change this. And I did. I actually stopped the pain.
Right.
However, what I didn't do is stop the infection. And by the time I got to the dentist, instead of one tooth, now it was 4.
Right.
In the end, it was 5. I had another one, right?
Yeah.
So the first time I went, he hauled out 3 of these teeth. And I thought, oh, man, this is bad, because I have dry sockets, and every time I have a pulled tooth, it's bad.
Yeah.
And I thought, geez, I got 3 of them. This is not going to be good. And sure enough, right, when the thing came off, the Novocaine or whatever it is, I was desperate. It was so painful. I didn't know what to do. And I was walking because Steph at that time was working downtown Penticton. So I walked down to her office and I just got somebody to go get her. And I just said, I have to go. I can't stay downtown. I got to go home. This is doing me in, right?
Right.
And I must have looked bad because everybody in the place was giving me the eyeball on the way by. I thought, I don't care. This just hurts too much, right?
Sure, yeah.
Anyway, she did take me home, and by the time I got home, I was just in just awful shape, and all I wanted to do was just go to bed and somehow find a way to go to sleep, right?
Right.
So Steph said, "Yep, that's a good idea," and she got in there with me, and she just started to talk to me, and I knew what she was doing. I didn't care at that point; it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But go for it if you think it'll work, right? Because I'll do anything now, and. She talked to me for maybe, 15 minutes, and I fell asleep.
Right.
And an hour later, I woke up, and the pain was gone. It was gone, and it didn't come back.
So do you remember the gist of what her conversation with you was?
Something along the lines of, thank you for alerting us to the problem, and, we don't need this pain as a reminder anymore because it's already done.
Right.
Things are taken out, the infection is cleaned up, the pain is unnecessary. Can we just let that go? And I don't know. She did that, and Steph, you're talking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
She does that so well. Anyway,
she does.
By the time I woke up, really 1 hour later, gone. And,
that's amazing, isn't it?
It was so amazing. I couldn't believe it. I got up and I thought, did I take a bunch of Tylenols or what happened, right? Because I had done that and they didn't make any difference, right?
Yeah.
and I thought, I don't get it, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
Way to go. And it was just her having faith in me that made that one work. Because I got to be honest with you, I didn't have a lot of faith at the moment. When I was sitting there like this, I just thought, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of this, right?
Yeah.
And she knew, and she did it, and it was gone. So that was really cool.
That's very cool. That's so amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And, I've had many things like that. I used to have gout, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with gout. You know what I'm talking about. It is nasty. It hurts, and there's nothing you can do. And I'm allergic, of course, to the stuff that makes it go away.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this drug called allopurinol, and that fixes it. But I'm allergic to it,
oh, wow.
So I can't take it. Right. So, and it's funny. I'm going to have to test that out because I might not be allergic to it anymore. But I don't need it, so let's just forget it. But what happened there was it went away. It just went away by itself, and it got less and less for a while, and then it just disappeared. And it was gone for about, 5 or 6 years. Right. And then one day, there's always this little feeling you get. It's an alert thing. It's like, look out, this is it. It's coming, right?
Right.
And I got that feeling, and I thought, yeah, I don't think so. And I just started doing the things that we talk about. I just started to think, but look, thank you for coming. Thank you for alerting me to the fact that I'm doing something wrong here, that something's not right. And I started to think about it, and it was something I was eating. I can't remember what.
Right.
But thanks for letting me know, but I really don't need to go through the whole process. So can we just leave it, right? And I kept repeating that and kept repeating it, and it never came. Never did come up, never did flare out. And that to me was, thank God, because that's just bad.
I've heard that. Yeah, there's a number of members of my family that used to get gout, and I've heard it's really wicked painful. It's totally debilitating. You can't move around. And
well, yeah, it's funny because I would get it. It's supposed to be like in your big toe, but I would get it in my toes, in my ankles. I got it in my knees.
Yeah.
I had it all over, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. When I had it, when it was in full force, I wasn't moving for nobody.
Yeah.
I used to lay on the living room floor so I could have a TV to watch or something.
Right.
And I was there for 3 days. I couldn't get up.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And then it's funny, you go to sleep and instantly it's gone. You wake up and it's gone. You're fine again.
Right.
But this method now ever since then. I'd say maybe 3-4 times in the last few years. I've felt that again, and every time a little wondering is, oh, what's that doing back, right? But then every time I just do the same process, and it never got anywhere.
Right.
Didn't go. So that, I'm really grateful for that.
I'm sure.
As far as the allergies go, I'm talking about allergies, right? And the very worst time of ever for allergies was right now.
Right.
The end of May, beginning of June.
Yeah, we're in the middle of it.
Especially cottonwood trees, right?
I know.
If you look outside my window, I am flat out surrounded by cottonwood trees. They're everywhere.
I know.
Right?
They're in behind me too, and on a windy day it looks like it's snowing. There's so much pollen, like these chunks. It's not even just pollen. It's like this chunks of something, and it looks like snow. So this must be wicked for people with allergies.
It was like a minefield. I had to walk through stuff and just make sure nothing touched me,
Yeah.
And now I just don't worry about it. I sit out on the balcony and have coffee in the morning and watch all this stuff float around, and it just doesn't make any difference. So, I don't know. I don't know how to say. Well, I guess I do know. I mean, like I said, having faith in something and then just go with it. Just what do you got to lose, right? I mean, I had a lot to gain and nothing to lose, so I just went with it.
Yeah. Do you attribute your immediate success with having this conversation with your body to having studied NLP, which for people who don't know is neuro-linguistic programming? Do you attribute it to that, or do you think it's not about technique? It's just having conviction and having a conversation?
Well, I think it's the latter, what you just said. However, I didn't know anything about that until I took this NLP course.
Right.
And when I took the training, and then I found out all these things, and I found out just how powerful your mind is and how we're mostly using the wrong part of it and actually fighting against ourselves. And all of a sudden, when I found that out, a lot of things made sense. It was like, holy cow, no wonder I'm doing all this, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that taking that opened my eyes to it.
Right.
But now that they're open, I just think it's the faith and the fact that you can do something about it. You don't. You're not stuck.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. Sometimes it takes a little. I don't know. Might be courage, because you might want to go the regular route and say, no. Somebody save me.
Right.
But if you just believe and just start talking to your body, I've got the results. And I can't say that anyone else is going to get the results, but I can say that I got them for sure. Yeah,
me too. I know. Well, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your story. I think that the stories that both you and your wife, Steph, have shared are a real inspiration to people, because it gets them thinking about the fact that they can make choices about using their mind to heal their body, and a lot of people that just never occurs to them, and so it's a real inspiration for people to hear those stories. So thank you.
You're absolutely welcome, and I hope it helps somebody.
Yeah, cool.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Dan. Take care.
You bet. Bye bye.
Talk to you. Bye bye.